podcast. On today's show, I've got fellow co-hosts Chris and Zin. How's it going, guys?
Going good?
It's a going.
Cool. How was everybody's weekend?
Mm, Not bad.
Weekend was good. Yesterday, I felt like I was gonna get blown away like an old Looney Tunes cartoon.
And
No,
then today I got all the sleet and snow that just froze on the side of my car.
right. Uh,
Yeah, we had sustained winds at 35, gusts up to 70 yesterday.
Jeez, oh Pete's.
But I will take that instead of the hurricanes at Dallas and Oklahoma, or not hurricanes, the tornadoes that Dallas and Oklahoma got.
Right.
That's an interesting hurricane.
I mean, they were hurricane force winds, so
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all I did all weekend was just hang out and watch a bunch of racing it for NASCAR and for Coda, and then obviously the IndyCar race at St. Pete, which we'll talk all about that stuff later in the
mhm.
podcast. But right now we'll get into some sim racing news. So,
Yep. So actually, I think yesterday, Asetek just released some big and exciting news in the world of sim racing. So for I guess we'll just start off with all the upgrade stuff. So for iRacing, they now have 360 hertz mode, so they'll now join SimiCube and SimMagic in that. And then also anybody who's getting who's had a Forte wheelbase, Forte, but La Prima wheelbase, you can now upgrade. I think it was to the tune of about $200 right now. So if you're looking down that road, that would be what you'd kind of do. You get a power supply, and then the firmware upgrade, and you're off to go. The only thing you just don't get is the LEDs. I guess that you can't just plug and play with that, and you don't get a USB hub depending on which model you have. You have the TK hub, you got everything other than the LEDs.
oh, okay.
Yeah. And then also they've redone all their button boxes. As you saw with the Invicta wheel, it comes with aluminum buttons. But now you can get it with the Forte formula, and then also all their button boxes as well. So there's that too.
Cool.
And then also people like Zen who don't have the round wheel yet and are in the Asetek ecosystem, you do have a deep dish rim now. So if you want to do a little bit of rallying, drifting, there you go.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. My ideal setup probably would be to have the deep dish because it's 340
Mm-hmm.
millimeters, which is perfect for like NASCAR. Doing drifting, which I'm not big into, but I'd like to try it. And then have a smaller 300 millimeter setup.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a big change, big upgrade. Arguably the button boxes or the steering wheels, which have not been well received from an aesthetic standpoint, are look a lot better with the aluminum
Mm-hmm.
encoders and rotary knobs. It just gives it a little bit more of an upscale look to it. And then the knobs, the funky switches come with orange installed, but black in the box, and then you can get the other colors that are on the Invicta. You can purchase those separately from the website. And then also another big change is it doesn't like the button box, like the steering wheel is not the steering wheel anymore. It's just the button box, and
Mm.
then you can pick whatever handles you want. So you're not stuck with, like in Chris's case, a SpaceX handles because it came with formula handles, and say you wanted to get LMP
Yeah.
handles, you can just get LMP handles now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So pretty much you get your choices. And then also forgot the Thorpe 2. So for people, as Andre Erickson said, people who skip leg day, you now have an option.
Yeah, the Thorpe 2 is it's a little bit more complex than that, but it's the Invicta pedals themselves have been completely redesigned. You have the ability to have longer pedal travel. and softer settings, which were the two biggest complaints when the first generation of the Invicta pedals hit the market. And Asetek stance for the longest time was that a racing pedal is supposed to be a stiff pressure and a short throw. And there was a lot of debate that ensued after that that's not always the case. It's very car dependent.
Yeah.
And so now with the revised Invicta pedals with the new Thorpe 2 system, you have the ability to change the attack point on the pedal, which lowers the force required to actuate the pedal. And then you have the elastomers and a long travel kit, which previously you had to buy separately, are now included in the box from the get-go. They also changed how the cylinder design is, so you can access everything from the front side of the pedals instead of having to get behind the pedal, which could be challenging depending on the rig it was attached to. And then the big thing is that there are provisions on the side of the cylinder for right now. It's just a bypass tube, but it has what will eventually be the in and out flow valves for their hydraulic ABS module. So the only quirk with that is that whenever that module does come out, which Andre did not talk about, so nobody knows, it will have to be sent into Asetek to have it installed, and that's primarily done so that way customers don't have to deal with either getting hydraulic fluid all over the place, but primarily to make sure all the air gets bled out of the system.
What do you mean? You don't want to blow a seal and just dump brake fluid all over or hydraulic fluid all over your carpet?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like there's been enough incidents with hydraulic fluid all over people's carpets at that point.
Well, and it's, for anybody that's done brake lines on their car, they know the pain in the ass that it is of getting air out. And so,
yep.
It's welcome. For me personally, I'm intrigued by that. I kind of think that's the way sim racing pedals are going to go. The other thing that he talked about that it was interesting to me was so their cylinders that are attached to the Invicta are made by a professional racing brake company. He didn't say who it was. I don't know if there's anything out there that would.
Two big ones at least that we know of. So
yeah, I mean, you've got Alcon, you've got Brembo, you've got Endless. There's several that specialize in racing applications. But he said the thing about the unique challenge to sim racing is that it's actually more taxing on equipment than even the longest races in real racing. He said if you do 24 hours of Le Mans or 12 hours of Sebring like that, everything gets torn down after that and stuff's replaced, refreshed, etc. Sim racers, you're on it every single day. You're doing hundreds of laps every time, and you don't have the ability necessarily or want the ability to have to rebuild it every single time you do a big event.
Yeah.
So it was actually a challenge for their partner to design a cylinder and now revise said cylinder to withstand the harsh conditions that sim equipment has to endure through, especially a premium piece of equipment like the Invicta brake pedals are. So I thought that was very interesting and kind of an insight into the fact that sim racing can be a lot more taxing on equipment than an actual race car that's hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars. So it's kind of the trade-off of hey, you can hop in and drive, and because of that it's got to endure
so much more time actuating and
I mean, you think about it, like, I mean, we all have Husingveld pedal sets and we've had them for well over a year now.
Yeah.
And we've never had to change springs, bushings or anything like that on them. So, it's, luckily, like I said, we've had no problems with them and stuff. But yeah, you just think about, it's just something you don't think about is, like you said, you're pressing it hundreds of thousands of times, and it's supposed to, you just expect it to be there every time,
Mm-hmm.
So
And that's when you see all the people who they've got the Logic pedals, and all of a sudden they push the brake down, and there's no brake.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's quite interesting that even the like you guys said, the professional brake manufacturers have run into problems with trying to design a pedal system for sim racing.
And then they also are coming with console support, which they haven't said which console, but I'm gonna guess, judging by how much easier it is to do with Xbox, I'm gonna go with that.
I would guess it would probably be PlayStation and Xbox is what they'll target. If there's anything that can be learned from the Fanatec saga with the Club Sport DD, PlayStation has this, security chip or whatever that takes extra time. But yeah, they announced a whole new lineup of products that sits below the La Prima. It's the
Tictum or something? Initium. Oh, yeah, it's Initium.
Yeah, which all of their product lines stem from Latin words, and so this one means to begin or the beginning, which makes sense as an entry level line.
Right.
But basically, he said that for about $1,000, you'll be able to get a rig, a wheelbase, wheel, and pedals. Which when you think of the quality that's going to trickle down into this product lineup, is actually a pretty good deal. He said that the rig is going to be just as adjustable as an aluminum profile cockpit. So my guess is it might be like a Next Level Racing GT Light kind of thing, like a wheel stand and extension for a seat or something like that.
Right.
But it's not, or maybe a very maybe.
I mean, we did get a glimpse of it ever so slightly, and I mean, it looked more like a tube frame kind of deal.
Yeah, it could be tube frame as well. Or it could take on like the kind of Fanatec-esque rig that they just came out with.
Yeah.
But yeah, he said that they're gonna basically take their lessons learned and take what has worked so well in their current lineup of products on the wheelbases and the wheels, and just because it's the entry level doesn't mean it's going to be shitty quality.
Yeah,
is basically
and
what he was saying.
that's what I've kind of noticed, at least with the Moza stuff, is for whatever reason there's a giant quality gap between like an R12 and a R5.
Yeah, and with the I mean, and just as a for instance, just because they're who I think of first when I think of console compatibility and stuff, which is Fanatec.
Yeah.
Looking at the Ready to Race bundle, which is the CSL DD, which is 5 Newton meters, just the generic CSL steering wheel, and then a 2-pedal non-load cell brake kit is $400. So if you get closer to that $1,000 mark, you get to the CSL DD, which is the 8 Newton meter bundle, or the 8 Newton meter wheelbase,
Yeah.
the McLaren GT3 rim, the CSL load cell V2 pedals, the 3-pedal set, for $800.
Right.
So you figure, okay, if you're Acetec, with this upgrade path that the La Prima wheelbase owners have to take it from 12 to 16, they'll probably have their entry level sit somewhere probably closer to 10 Newton meters, if I had to guess. A La Prima-esque wheel, the pedals that have the it's not gonna, it may be a Thorpe derived system, but I think it's probably going to be their Hall effect and load cell combination pedals. I forget what the acronym is for that.
Right.
So my guess is that it's not going to target the 3 Newton meter, 5 Newton meter entry, that much of an entry level.
Right.
My guess is it's probably going to sit somewhere in the 8 to 10 Newton meter range. Really kind of get rid of any Thrustmaster offerings, or the Logitech G Pro or something like that. It would be my guess is what they're going to try and target.
Yeah. Right. So, which I mean, like I said, the entry level market right now is extremely competitive. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like Chris said, you've got the Moza R3 and R5 bundles, I think, that
Yeah.
are console compatible.
Yes.
Yep.
Actually,
The
no, it's
Logitech,
only the Moza R5, but if you get the wheel, if you just get the wheel, it's already it becomes Xbox compatible.
okay. So yeah, so that's 5 Newton meters there. You've got the your Logitech, your Thrustmaster, Fanatec's there. So yeah, it just as much as the high end is very saturated, the entry level, low end is as well. But with Asetek's ability to break in and set themselves at the forefront of all the different levels that they've come into so
Mhm.
far, I have no doubt that this. If I remember what Andre said right, this is something they've been working on for 2 years.
Yeah.
So I have no doubt that they'll offer a very compelling bundle for people that are very into sim racing or are console players, but don't have the money to shell out for a Forte or Invicta wheelbase or something like that.
right. Yeah, and the console compatibility is definitely going to really help them with the entry level
Mhm.
consumer.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we're just waiting on when they decide to do shifters and whatnot. But that's it. Let's get their main products in line first, and then focus on the peripherals.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and there's a lot of companies out there that you can get
Yeah, I mean,
all right.
Husingveld.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Husingveld's more on the high end and expensive side for a sequential shifter.
Well, their new one
Um,
is. Their old one was like
yeah,
$180.
yeah. I don't know. There's always been mixed reviews about the Fanatec shifter, um, and stuff with that on its reliability. Um,
Yeah,
but
I'm wondering if I've run into that myself. I'd have to might have to
Logitech,
dive
I think
into
it's
check.
Logitech or Turtle Beach has a
Turtle Beach got one now.
yeah, Turtle Beach has a H pattern shifter now that you can also use what 2 and 3 or no
You
3
can
and
use
4.
it goes up to I think like 12 gear transmission if you need it.
Yeah, but it's 3 and 4 are set as the sequentials. So if you wanted
Yeah.
to, you can set it to sequential mode and use 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Um,
And then yeah, that was the other thing that Andre kind of teased is when he was talking about the deep dish and how it was perfect for rallying. He said that they were also eventually going to be coming. I don't know if he was saying a handbrake or a sequential shifter. Did you pick up on that, Chris?
I don't remember off the top of my head, so
Yeah, I
probably
don't.
not.
He made the motion, but the motion could be applied for either a handbrake or a sequential shifter. So, my guess is probably a shifter because there's a
yeah,
lot of compelling handbrake options out there. But
Hmm.
yeah. I mean, yeah, especially you got the yeah.
And then
Fanat-
also,
Fanatec's got theirs. I think Husingveld has a handbrake.
yeah,
Yeah, there's many other companies too
and
that have
then
handbrakes.
they're finally activating all the other additions for the La Prima button box that they didn't have before, like the clutches and then the paddles.
Okay,
So that's just a free upgrade they're doing with that,
right.
which is it's quite nice because then all you have to do is buy the paddles, or if you have like the open D shape, you can just kind of use that for like your formula stuff as well.
Right. And yeah, and obviously as this stuff rolls out, there's going to be many people that will have reviews and stuff
Hmm.
out about them. I know we generally watch a lot of Boosted Media's stuff because I mean, yeah, I think he does a fairly decent job of being impartial in all of his
Yeah,
reviews and telling you when a product is just crap and when it's probably something you should check out.
hmm
Um, um so yeah, shameless plug for him, but he does a decent job. So
yeah. So far, I've seen for the Thort 2, Basic Ollie, Matt Malone, and Dave Cam have all talked about it or been using it on their streams.
okay,
Um, So yeah, for Dave Cam, his daily driver is the SemiCube Active pedals which I wish he would have clarified in his video that he was talking about it, because he was talking about how he went out after the week that IMSA was at Le Mans. So
Yeah.
what was that, 2 weeks ago?
Mhm.
Yeah. 'cause
So what,
last
he's
week was
got 3
Alpine.
active pedals?
2, I think. I don't think he
Okay.
had the clutch, but
Yeah,
so
kind of an active clutch is kind of that's kind of moot.
yeah, I mean, you can do it, but it's dumb. That's just if you got more money to burn.
Yeah.
But he was saying that he went out with the Invicta Thorpe 2 pedals and set a new personal best from what he ran during the week at Le Mans. But I wish he would have like, it may have been strategic for why he didn't say it, but I wish he would have come out and said that this was compared to his active pedals.
Right.
Honestly, I think the biggest reason probably why he didn't is just transparency. It's just like, I don't want to bash this just yet.
Well,
like,
or you can't
come
say
out,
anything
yeah.
about it for
Or is it an
embargo
NDA?
reasons. Yeah, NDA stuff. I mean, so
Well, it's not that he was bashing on it. He said it was fantastic. He said, would he get it? No, but that's because he has the active pedals. But
Yeah.
what he was basically, what I took from it is that it's
Mhm.
very similar pace wise to active pedals for, a quarter of the cost of those. And
right.
I will probably wait until the ABS module comes available
Yeah.
and see what the reviews are for that, and just order
Mhm.
it with it already installed, so I don't have to.
I'm quite interested in how it's going to like function, really. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. It's gonna act like an active pedal, or is it going to be more of like kind of just like a juddering?
I mean, if it's anything like what I will be interested in is if it can be set to be car dependent, because there are cars that don't have ABS, and so therefore you
Mhm.
don't need that functionality. Versus, say a modern
GT3 car,
or
Yeah.
a MX-5 or something like that, where you would need that. So to me, there would have to be a way to say either turn it down a lot or turn it off completely for cars that you don't want it, if you're going for true
So,
one-to-one
wait.
realism.
When did MX5 get ABS? But they were not ABS.
Apparently they're gonna be getting ABS with this new.
I just picked a car.
Yeah.
Or no, I don't know if it's ABS or if it's traction control. It's gonna have a 3 setting, like basically an off, low, and
All right. Well,
high. Or
anyway,
something.
we get the gist of that.
Yeah, maybe
But-
maybe the GR86 would have been a better comparison. But,
Right. But yeah, if it's something as simple as you go into their software and you just uncheck mark the box, and then that turns off the ABS system for cars that don't have it. I mean, that might be something you might have to do.
Yeah, because I mean, there would have to be some sort of pump in there, I would think. And so if
There,
you just
yeah.
turn off the signal to the pump when you don't want it,
Right.
so that I will be very curious. It's a very interesting take on the active pedal that SimiCube pioneered, and SimMagic will soon have theirs on the market. We were actually just talking the other day about Houstonville's been very quiet about their next generation of pedals, and
Mhm.
it either they're fine with letting people do third-party modifications to it, i.e. the adapters for the SimMagic Rumble motors or what have you, versus coming out with a completely new setup, or they are working on something and are just being very quiet until it's
Yeah, I
ready
mean,
to
I
come
guess
out.
we'll find out when we start getting into the sim racing expos this year, if they come out and go, oh, here's like 2 new sets of pedals. You've got the Ultimate Plus Plus, or whatever the heck they're gonna call it, or the Active
Yeah.
Plus pedal or something, where
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But I mean, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if they are just keeping tight-lipped about everything and waiting for one of these racing expos to just drop something and be like, here you go, this is what we got, or this is what's coming out. So
Yeah, definitely. And the nice thing is we've got 2. I wish we had 3 because I'd be going to it next week. But we've got 2 sim expos this year: the one in Chicago and then the one in Germany. So
Also, well, something just dropped. Speaking of new things from Husingveld, they have a mini mag shifter.
oh, I think didn't they a mini mag shifter, not
Yeah.
just the mag.
It's like it's a mini version of. I will actually just throw this in Discord for a second. Oh. Come on. There we go.
What a freaking nub of a shit.
It is.
Oh my!
Is it?
It's
cold
not
there?
April 1st, is it? We're not.
No.
We're not being.
This is 14 hours ago.
Hold on. No. Let's see here.
But why? I don't.
I don't know. They teased it because it's like new product is loading, new product is loading. Bang.
Is it cold there? I think. What?
Yeah, that's definitely.
I don't
Someone
get
said
it.
after 15 years of disappointment, finally an 8 shifter. Well, he was disappointed.
Okay, so let's
Anyway, well, next.
hold on. I can do this on here.
All this
Maybe not.
fits in the palm of your hand. I bet it does.
No. Cancel that. Yeah, it says the new mini mag shifter is now available. Ultra compact factor, solid able, delivers high force, up to 8 kilograms of lever force. The mini mag shifter is a patented mag shift system with individually adjustable upshifts and downshift forces on the fly through Husingveld's live force or live. So you can adjust the force on the fly.
Yeah, it
So.
says the small form factor allows for many possible installation locations. It can be installed on the center console of any simulator, but due to its small size, mounting in close proximity to the steering wheel is also an option. I have to say, of all the things I've seen people want in the sim racing world, a tiny is not one of them.
I mean, it has extra functions on it that can be unlocked when you install Husingveld smart control softwares. You can set up 4 customizable outputs using the lever.
Well, I mean, I guess here's the thing. I have the original Husingveld sequential. It is about that size, but at least I have a stick I can decide what size I want.
I mean, never mind.
I know where you're going with it. I know where you're going with
This is the Chris size shifter.
Oh my god.
I like how the SKU number is He Mini Mag. That's the SKU code.
Yeah.
He Mini Mag.
Oh, apparently the whole thing is whatever 169 is. You can use your imagination with that.
Yeah, it's 214 euros apparently.
It's 100 and it's 169 millimeters.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
This definitely feels like a April Fool's.
I know it does. It looks like an April Fool's thing, but you can buy it. It's
Jack, if you're listening, can you let us know if April Fool's is on a different day in Europe or something?
Yeah. So okay then. Well, that's that is a thing. You can get the mini mag now. So
everyone thought it was going to be an H pattern shifter.
Okay. Well.
Anyway.
I guess. Do we have any more sim racing news we want to talk about before we move on?
Not that I know of.
No, we're just kind of right now. We're just waiting for iRacing's week 13 stuff, so they can roll out the new tire models for GTP and the new ARCA car and new UI and all that stuff, which we'll talk about as soon as that stuff drops. So,
well, if you are still playing the Crew Motorfest, they dropped the details.
So that's an arcade game now.
Yeah. They dropped the season 6 details. It launches this week. So I guess
I'm
it actually came
surprised
out
that game
today.
has made it to season 6.
Well, I guess it started today, actually. So
Oh.
it says the latest season update adds iconic Red Bull vehicles plus 2 new themed playlists, a bespoke stunt arena, and a wealth of quality of life improvements. So it says between March and June, season 6 will add a whopping 17 new cars to the roster. 4 of these will be accessible 1 week early for year 2 pass owners. The Ford Puma Hybrid Rally 1 car from 2022 will be available on March 5th. The BMW M4 Drift Brothers 2024 is available on April 2nd. The Audi RSQ e-tron Rally Raid will be available on May 7th, and the Mini Junkyard Works GP is available on June 4th. At launch, players can take the championship-winning Red Bull RB20 from last year's Formula One season and the KTM Expo R Experience Red Bull Ring for a spin. The playlists are all Red Bull themed. A new Red Bull Speed Clash playlist will see you get behind the wheel of iconic Red Bull vehicles in a series of challenges. These races will put you against different vehicle categories. One sees you racing a single-seater against a plane, while another challenges you to take on a motorcycle and a rally raid car. Completing every event in the playlist will unlock the Ferrari 488 GT3 AF Corsa.
Man, that sounds very Forza Horizon-ish.
I was going to say, that sounds very Forza Horizon-ish. That's not the only new playlist coming in season 6. Starting on May 7th, the second Red Bull Wild Ride playlist sees you take the Red Bull RB18 off-road in a new action list mode. The more specific details are being kept under wraps. Beyond the new cars and playlists, season 6 introduces several welcome quality of life changes. Traffic can now be disabled in Summit, or will now be disabled in Summit contest feeds to provide a fairer experience, while gear shifting has been improved for consistency between automatic and manual modes. 65 vehicles have had their handling tweaked. Finally, season 6 marks the start of a new podcast developed in collaboration between Red Bull and Ubisoft, available to stream as a standalone podcast or as an in-game radio station. The podcast will feature interviews with Red Bull drivers, including Yuki Tsunoda, Robbie Madison, Lucas Zapella, Elias Hauntagy, I'm butchering that, sorry, Connor Shanahan, and Manuel Lettenbeckler.
Where's
Hosted by
Shane Van Gisbergen or Connor Zilic?
may be coming in the future. Hosted by UK automotive presenter Becky Evans, weekly episodes will be uploaded to Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. So I'm not going to go into the detailed breakdown. If you want to see that, it's on traction.gg. But let me see if this talks about any of the other new cars coming. So joining the Puma and the Rally class is the 2017 Ford Fiesta Red Bull Edition, available as a Summit contest reward. In the Street Tier class, the Mini Junkyard Works GP will be added. And then, so apparently the M4 drift car that's being added is also the same car that went to Race Room last week. So yeah, the 2016 Ferrari 488 GT3 is a playlist reward car. The Ivory Tower Isis GT comes on June 18th. And then there's apparently 8 more that are yet to be determined.
Interesting.
So, interesting grouping of cars.
Yeah, I guess if you're a fan of Red Bull and you have the crew, there you go.
Yeah, actually, what is the current price of the crew on Steam?
I'll give you $3.
I give you -6 cents.
Yeah, you pay me to play this game.
Until then, I'm probably not buying it.
Crew Motorfest is on sale currently until March 13th.
Oh, right. I forgot. Ubisoft is literally putting their whole catalog on sale.
Yeah, so you can buy the base game for $20.99, or for $3 more get the deluxe edition, or for $40 you can get the gold edition, which includes the base game and the year 2 pass, which gives you all this DLC here.
Mm.
Or you can get the Crew Motorfest Ultimate Edition, which is 60% off from 120 down to 48, which gives you the Crew Motorfest, the year 1 pass, and the year 2 pass. So all DLC that has been created or coming.
Okay. Oh,
So
there you go.
not bad if you want to change a pace, if you're bored of sim racing, or you just want to break and you're waiting for Wreckfest 2 to come out.
Mm-hmm.
I might have to check that out.
Yeah, maybe. I'm still holding off, waiting for stuff. So,
I mean, I remember playing the original Crew and thought it was pretty okay.
I'll be honest, the original Crew was great. After that, I just kind of got less car-ish and more Forza Horizon-ish. Like, I mean, after the Crew 1, they could have just canned it there and done something else, to be honest. Because there was like a whole story about the Crew 1, and then the Crew 2 was just kind of like, oh, let's turn it into a festival.
Yeah, it does seem that they copied Horizon's kind of play style, but
right.
If it's a better execution than Horizon is, maybe we're trying.
Yeah, I know there's still rumors that we're gonna get an announcement for Horizon 6. So
I pray it's in
or
Japan.
6 or 7 or whichever one is next. Yeah, 6.
Yeah, it's 6. Yeah.
So
yeah, I pray it's in Japan.
Right. So, all right. That is it for sim racing news. We will move on to motorsport news now. Obviously, we had the IndyCar race this weekend on Fox. So, obviously, it's the new Fox era, as IndyCar is calling it. So, I don't know. Did you guys watch any of the race or?
I didn't even know IndyCar was happening. I'll be honest.
How could you not? They had the Super Bowl ads and everything.
Chris didn't watch the Super Bowl.
I did watch the Super Bowl, although there was some alcohol consumed and some pool played.
He doesn't have cable, so he never saw the commercials. No, I watched it. Freaking Alex Rodriguez, it just gets on my nerves. So he was the star in the 2-seater at the beginning, and
I don't know. I thought that was kind of funny when they keyed in on him and they were talking to him while he was going around the track.
Yeah, I guess, but I don't know. I've like I said, A-Rod's always been an annoying person to me, so anyway, yeah, I thought the race was good. I thought the broadcast was pretty good for Fox's first attempt. Apparently, the viewership numbers were up like 40% compared.
Yeah,
to
they had
last year.
1.4 million viewers, which is like the highest St. Petersburg race they've had just about ever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there were some issues with the online or the ticker during qualifying. There's some stuff that they really need to refine on that, like sector times.
There was some issues too with the scoring tower overlay. Like it was randomly moving people around on it.
Yeah. So
like it reminded me of like Race Labs overlays freaking out when people were blinking in and out of the race.
Yeah.
Or disconnects.
Which I mean, are all bugs they can work out as the season goes on.
Yeah.
They didn't really show the people on different tire strategies. That would have been nice to see.
Yeah, the camera angles for Rex was abysmal.
Yeah.
Like the lap 1 incident that happened between Power and I forget his name. It's not. I keep wanting to say
Nolan Siegel.
Yeah, thank you. I was like, I keep wanting to say it's Rosenquist, but he's not in that car anymore. Yeah,
Nope.
between Power and Siegel, like they're showing it from the opposite end of the damn straightaway, and all you just see is just cars. You can't tell like who got into who until they show the onboard like 5 minutes later.
Right.
But yeah, I would have liked to see a more prominent graphic, showcasing who was on the primaries and who was on the softs. How many laps they were into the stint, which is something that they have on the NASCAR side of laps since last pit, kind of thing.
Yep.
So it was also my first time really hearing Will Buxton in the booth, which was very odd. Hearing him talk that much.
Yeah. I
But
mean, I thought he did a good job. Like he was,
Oh,
he
yeah.
definitely was not bad.
it wasn't bad. It's just it was very not interesting, but kind of weird to have gone from Lee Diffie to now another, British-esque voice. I mean, he is actually British versus Diffie being Australian.
Mhm.
But as like the lead commentator, and like I caught myself at times going, he's trying to sound a little bit like Diffie, but I just had to remember that's just the accent,
Right.
But having Townsend Bell there and having Hinchcliffe was amazing. I yeah, Jack Harvey in the pits is weird. Or doing
Yeah,
like
you
the
could definitely
gridlock is weird.
tell. Yeah, you could definitely tell he's uncomfortable doing it. He's hopefully it's something as he gets more repetitions in, he gets more comfortable. It did kind of seem like Fox was making him kind of go talk to the star people,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the Formula One-esque style, which I mean, I don't know Jack personally, so I don't know how comfortable he is talking with, people that he doesn't know. But I feel like they should have had him talk to teams and like pit crew people that he knows. Because
Yeah.
I feel like if you just get him in a comfortable situation, I mean, he'll, then once he builds up, the ability to talk to people at random doing this grid walk, then we can send him out to talk to these star people and, get these, live moments and stuff like that. I feel like you gotta kind of get him comfortable and get him used to it and then let him do his thing.
Yeah.
At least that's my opinion. But
Yeah, I would agree with that. It was just very rigid, kind of.
yeah, I know there were some people that were on the international side that were, kind of saying, "Oh, well, obviously they were trying to copy Martin Brundle's grid walk stuff." And I was like, "Well, yeah, but Martin also has years of doing it, so of course everything comes natural to him."
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it was wasn't bad for their first attempt at it.
Mhm. They did have one hiccup in the middle of the race where they kind of lost camera and audio for a little bit, but they were able to recover right back. So I don't know what hiccup that was caused by, but yeah, they kind of they went to the third boom mic or whatever that was overhead there that they have in the room with them there for a minute, and then the audio came back in as normal. So they had some sort of hiccup in the booth there where the screen froze for a second, and then they were on that room mic that they have. But yeah, let's see here. Yeah, we kind of talked about it. Lap one, Willpower runs into the back of Nolan Siegel, triggering a multi-car wreck. Oh gosh, I can't remember the third driver that was involved in that. He's
one of the rookies.
Yeah, that's done primarily like F2 and stuff like that. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, Lewis Foster.
Louis Foster. So yeah, he was involved. Unfortunately for him, because he needs a lot of time. Because again, this is his rookie season. He hasn't had a whole lot of time to practice in these cars, so it's unfortunate for him to get knocked out early.
Well, he had if I remember right, he was the top qualified rookie too.
Yeah.
And he was really looking forward to the race, and yeah, just gets caught up by car spin and didn't really have much of a place to go.
Yeah. Let's see here. Pato Awards ended up making an early pit stop, kind of get himself off sequence with other people. Trying to play a bit of strategy right there. Unfortunately, didn't really work out for him. A lot of other cars that started on the green tires or the softs switched out right away as soon as that caution came out. So that was kind of the strategy is throughout the day was who was on the greens early and then switching to the primary tires to get off them as fast as possible, and then who still had to use the primary or the option or the green tires throughout the rest of the race. I mean, I don't know. There's been some discussion about the green or the soft tire needs to be probably tweaked a little bit more so there isn't such a huge discrepancy on lap times, because they said the black tires could last about 50 or 60 laps as opposed to the option green tire that was only about 15.
Yeah.
15 or 20. So they might need a green tire that lasts maybe half as long as the prime tire would probably be a better, might be better for opening up some different variations and pit strategies
Hmm.
for that. So that was a talking point during the race. Unfortunately, Colton Herta had right rear tire problems, which ended up hurting him in the standings. It was unfortunate to see for Colton. Just he just constantly seems to get snake bit on stuff. I don't know. Just the last, even going back to last season, he seemed to have bad luck kind of get him quite a bit. So unfortunate to see for that. Let's see. Armstrong ended up having problems with his rear tire. And then unfortunately they had some sort of I don't think they could get the tire off, and then he eventually was out of the race for that. Scotty Mack led a decent chunk of the race, but unfortunately I don't know if they just it seemed like they made some sort of mistake in their strategy call, but unfortunately when it all started to shake out towards the end, he was out of the lead, so he unfortunately didn't end up winning, even though, like I said, he looked like he was on pace to win. Scott Dixon ended up finishing second with apparently no radio the entire race. He was calling his own pit stops, managing his own fuel saving.
Yeah, he said he had to look at the fuel gauge for the first time in like 9 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, for him to come home with a P2 on no radio communications and calling your own strategies and coming down pit road when he felt like the tires were out of life, I mean, if he would have won the race, that'd have been probably one of the single greatest drives ever in IndyCar history.
Well, I mean, when you have to be your own crew chief and everything, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's like I said, that was wild. But Alex Palou did come away with the win. So last year's IndyCar Series champion, starting out strong. Newgarden towards the end there, he ended up running out of fuel, I guess, and ended up dropping back. So unfortunate for him, but yeah, like I said, the Fox IndyCar broadcast, like I said, had some hiccups, but all in all, it was the commentators were A+ on that. Some of the camera angles, maybe more of like a B or a C. On that, some graphic stuff, B or C. They could use some work and some tweaking on it. Which, like I said, as the season goes on, hopefully they, reflect back on what didn't work and do things to change it and improve the broadcast. Because I mean, they could. I mean, there's no reason why they couldn't have a, top tier product. So, yeah, that's all I've got to say about the IndyCar race. I don't know if there's anything else you guys want to add about it.
Yeah, it was a decent first race. I'm just like, how many more races am I going to watch where Rossi gets screwed on strategy?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like they had I mean, going back to the soft tire and making it last longer, I also think that they should probably tweak the rules where it's like you only have to do 2 laps minimum on it. Because
there is a 3-lap minimum for the soft tire.
well, my point is that you had the like 3/4 of the field started on the soft tire, and then the caution happens on lap 1. They come in 2 laps later, change it, and they've met their requirements. They don't have to do it any longer.
Right.
I don't know. I'm probably just being pissy because Rossi got screwed by strategy, but it's just one of those things where either you improve the tire or you force the minimum laps run on it to be longer in these types of situations where you can't start the race, get lucky with a lap 1 caution, and immediately hop off of it.
Yeah, or make it minimum 3-lap green flag run. I mean,
yeah, something like that. Because I want to say I'll have to go back and watch. Because I mean, McLaughlin started on the hard tire, like Herta did. There was only like 8 or 9 cars that did, so of course they cycled to the front when everybody else pit. And I don't think any of those cars.
Yeah, the Meyer Shank cars are on the hard tire, and I think one of the Prema cars was on the hard tire too, because he was up in the top 5 or 6. There for a little bit too.
Yeah. So, and let me look at it just again, just so I don't make an ass out of myself. But
it's fine. You can.
Yeah, I mean, like Rosenquist finished 7th. Trying to think. What the hell is the other Meyer Shank car? It's the 60 and the. Yeah, I mean McLaughlin, finished 4th, but he wasn't really challenging at the end.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know if anybody that started on the hard that didn't change after that first pit stop had really a good race. I think McLaughlin was the best in 4th.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, the strategy calls at the end of the race with Palou jumping Dixon in the pits jumping Newgarden in the pits, and then Dixon getting around Newgarden at the very end on the last lap, and it was it was funny. I did not realize that. I guess St. Pete is like one of 3 or 4 tracks on the calendar that Dixon's never won at, which is actually kind of insane to think about. Like, he's never won there. He's never won at Iowa, and there's a couple other places.
Obviously, Thermal Club.
Yeah, I don't think they had that on the list. I think it was like ones that he's raced at every year of his
Yeah.
career. So, um, but yeah, it was actually kind of crazy to see that. But I mean, I thought it was overall good race. I don't know.
There's also a little bit of talk about Stingray Rob, not moving out of the way for certain people while going down mainly the non-Chevy drivers. So
Yeah, but I think that's always going to happen.
right, yeah. Yeah, looks like Connor Daly came home 17th, which again he did finish ahead of his teammate.
hmm
Let's see, Alex Palou was the highest of the people that finished on a force drop strategy, which there's only like one other person that did that. So, yeah. Next race is at the Thermal Club in 17 days. So, that's at 3 p.m. on Fox. All the races are on Fox, not FS1 or FS2 or Fox Sports app. They're all on Fox. So, yeah. Is it for the IndyCar stuff. Moving on to the NASCAR race at Circuit of the Americas with this new national layout, as they called it.
I just like to call it Dale Jr. Circuit at this point.
yeah. Junior was very, very praising on his podcast about the new circuit layout. But yeah, there's some kind of early on. There was some debate on whether or not Turn 6 was had a track limits imposed on it or not. Seems like NASCAR did tell the teams before the race that Turn 6 wouldn't have track limits, but even then they were still kind of confused on whether they could or couldn't. So I don't know why that was. But yeah, start of the race, Ross Chastain ended up bulldozing his way up to the front and running into the side of Chase Elliott, which which triggered Chase pretty early. He kind of got on the radio and well, first he asked if he did anything wrong, and then once he got that affirmation, then he was like, he told his crew chief that he was definitely going to get him back at some point. So that was interesting to hear him being all fired up about that. Also involved, Hamlin ended up having some right front fender damage. The fender would end up getting peeled off of his car. Connor Zilic would have a flat tire from the contact during that, which unfortunately put him down the order. But a few laps later, Ty Dillon ended up forcing Austin Cindric kind of offline, and Cindric ended up basically repaying him right away, and right rear hooked him straight into the wall, which collected Zane Smith as well. Let's see here. Bubba Wallace had ended up having to take a penalty there for abusing track limits in turns 4 and 5, which is the S's. He did end up serving that, but also due to people pitting for strategy towards the end of stage 1, he ended up taking the stage 1 win anyway. So good to see for Bubba. I mean, him and Reddick were both quick all day. Their cars were really hooked up. It was great to see.
Yeah, I mean the shitty part is they said that basically once he got that drive through or the stop and go penalty or whatever, that changed their strategy, which forced them to stay out when everybody pit, which then threw him in the scrum, and he was kind of like at the end of stage two, he'd worked himself back up to seventh, I think, just because of staying out. But it basically took him out of contention, which really sucked. That one penalty is all it took.
Right. So that was, like I said, although it did force them off strategy, it was good to see them at least capitalize and get maximum amount of stage points possible for stage one.
Oh, definitely.
Let's see here. They ended up making pit stops, and then when they went back to green, Kyle Larson did not have his front wheel fully attached, so he ended up losing that, which ended up ruining the rest of their day. And stage two kind of was more or less a repeat of how the end of stage one was. You had teams going for the obviously pit early with 2 to 3 to go to basically set themselves up for a good starting position in the final stage. Which Ryan Preece ended up taking stage two because he stayed out to maximize his stage points as well. So, like I said, that was their strategy. Let's see here. Then we get going again for stage 2 or 3. And then unfortunately, coming off of what they call that, they called that 6B, I think.
Yeah.
6B, which was the exit of the cut through that brought them back through onto the long back straight. Suarez ended up spinning out and pulled an iRacing move and didn't hold his brakes and ended up collecting his teammate Connor Zilic, which was unfortunate to see because Connor was really, really coming through the field pretty quickly, picking people off left and right to get back up after having his flat tire at the beginning of the race. So unfortunately, that ended Connor's day, which was sad to see.
Yeah. Like we were talking over the weekend, it's if Suarez doesn't pick up the results, it's going to be real interesting if he doesn't get replaced with Zilic full time in Cup next year.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and then we kind of went through people on different pit strategies. Some people trying to do an undercut early to get them set up for the end of the race. Some people staying out as long as possible to maximize tire grip. Unfortunately, it all kind of got thrown out the window towards the end. Hamlin ended up locking up the brakes and colliding with Austin Dillon, bringing out the yellow there. Hamlin did say that he just went into the corner and there was so much dirt on that part of the track from people abusing the track limits that as soon as he hit the brake pedal, it was just like driving on black ice, and he just slid right into Dillon. So he said he did apologize to him after the race about running into him and stuff, which set up this like 10 lap shootout towards the end, which at the time Kyle Busch was leading pretty handily, and it looked like he was gonna possibly come away with a win, but unfortunately, towards the end there, he just I don't know if he used up too much of his equipment trying to play defense, or it just didn't look like the car was handling very well through from turn 2 through the S's and stuff, because you could tell that he was out of the throttle longer through some of the those corners than the rest of rest of the cars that were running him down, like Bell, Byron, and those guys. So, but yeah, unfortunately, he did end up getting passed by Christopher Bell and fading pretty quickly once he did get passed, which was, like I said, unfortunate to see. Apparently Chase Elliott did make it back up to Ross Chastain, and Chastain just pulled over on the last lap to get out of the way of him, so he didn't get wiped out, just in case Chase was on a vengeance tour.
You a bitch.
Yeah, so that was funny to see. I know a lot of people were talking too that Ross had went up to Carson Hocevar the week before, after Hocevar had all his problems, and told him, hey, you probably shouldn't be driving like an idiot. And then, of course, lap 1 he ends up driving like an idiot. So
can we talk about the irony of fucking Hocevar getting lectured by Chastain after Atlanta, and then Chastain goes and does that.
Right, yeah, that was quite funny to see. I like I said, I did laugh about that. Let's see here. Yeah, then obviously Christopher Bell ended up coming away with the win. It's 2 in a row. He won last week at Atlanta, now this week at the road course at COTA. Looking super strong for the beginning of the year, especially when you can win at two as diverse tracks as this. So, yeah. I know some after race stuff. Brad Keselowski's cool suit ended up wasn't working since the pace lap. So when he got out of the car, he was taken to the infield care center and had to get IVs and fluids put back in because he was completely exhausted. So
which is crazy to think about because it wasn't that hot this weekend, but it's just COTA is a very physically demanding circuit.
Oh yeah, I mean the constant left right. I mean it's a very technical track.
Yeah.
So
and you kind of wonder a little bit, or at least I wonder a little bit, if maybe the full circuit where they would have had a break on the backstretch would have not taken as much toll out of him.
Right. Yeah.
Where he could have relaxed a little bit versus they just had no break whatsoever with the short layout. So I mean it's a trade-off. I mean the circuit, I was wrong. The short layout produced good racing. I still prefer the full layout, but that's just me. It has nothing to do with anything other than you're just adding more action spots.
It did feel a little weird watching the VP Sports Car Challenge, and they're not using the full track.
Yeah.
It was interesting to have them as the support series and not be on the full circuit. It was also interesting. Like I wonder what the race would have been like if they had run the proper West course instead of this modified version that they did with the runoff or the bypass road from the East Circuit.
Yeah.
With that little chicane in there. But I mean, for what it was good. I do agree with Dale Jr. I don't understand people's calls that COTA needs to be removed from the schedule.
I don't know. There's too many people saying, "Oh, all the road courses need to go." They're all shit. It's like, well, either you're gonna end up in the gravel at turn 1, or you're gonna end up in the wall at turn 2. So shut up.
I mean, the funny thing is that the best road courses in the next gen era have been at COTA and Watkins Glen. So if anything needs to go, it's that fucking shit course in Charlotte.
Yeah, I mean, not wrong. I mean, the Chicago street race has been pretty decent. Sonoma's always put on decent racing too. I mean, they're back to the short course for Sonoma too. Mexico City, I don't know what that's going to be. We were talking about that too during the weekend. It's like you basically give them you think Monza T1 is bad. We've basically given them an airport runway to go down.
A good example is look at Xfinity Turn 1 Portland.
Yeah.
And it's twice as long run into Turn 1.
Yeah, they were who'd they have? Christopher Bell was down in Mexico doing some promotional stuff because he was on Dale Jr.'s podcast, and he said that from the exit of the final corner, which is depending on which gear ratio they ran, because apparently they were testing down there. They had two different sets of gear ratios. It's either a second gear or a first gear turn all the way to, he said, we were pretty much redlining by the time we hit the fifth gear in the ratio setups that they had. So he didn't know how fast they were going, but he said they were redlining fifth gear just before stomping on the brakes. So which, I mean, that means they could be doing 170 miles an hour by the time they're diving off into turn one. So it could be Mexico City could be pretty interesting to watch. Just for chaos reasons. So, but yeah, like I said, again, COTA doesn't, you put them on this national circuit layout, still puts on good racing. Again, people like to poo-poo on the track sometimes, but so far I haven't ever really seen a bad race at COTA. I mean, since I've been watching people, races go there. So,
I mean, that's what I keep saying. Like, no matter the series, there has not been a bad race at COTA. I really don't understand the hate that people give it.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think that, I guess because it's an F1 track, that's why people poo-poo on it, especially on the NASCAR side.
I don't know why. They get to run all the way out to the fucking walls for track limits.
Well, unless it's in the S's, but...
Yeah, true. I mean, they would straight line the S's if they could, which would
be
the entire purpose of it.
Right. But again, like I said, it put on another good race, so I have no complaints on watching a race at COTA. So again, kind of some post-race stuff. So it was announced today that NASCAR did penalize Austin Cindric for right rear hooking Ty Dillon on Sunday's race.
Penalized.
Yeah, he received a loss of 50 driver points and was fined $50,000, which dropped him from 11th to 35th in the standings. NASCAR stopped short of giving him a one-race suspension, something it's done previously for drivers who intentionally wreck other vehicles. And then it brings up the Bubba Wallace, Kyle Larson stuff, and then Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin. Mike Fjord, NASCAR's managing director of racing communications, said in the episode of Hauler Talk, it says the reason Cindric wasn't suspended included the race being on a road course at lower speeds and tighter confines already. Which I don't know. I find that kind of a lie because they can run like 10 wide on the front stretch. So, but anyway, the incident didn't lead to a caution flag. The previous two incidents that led to those suspensions were on 1.5 mile speedways with speeds of well of 180 miles per hour plus. It says in addition, so yeah, that's the reason why they didn't throw the full suspension. And then obviously Kyle Larson's team for losing the tire. The team will be without Jackman, Brandon Johnson, and front tire changer Blaine Anderson, after they were suspended for 2 races for safety violation. And then it obviously notes the penalty section. So yeah, then they'll have backup Jackman, Eric Ludwig, and front tire changer Jafar Hall will be in the race for Phoenix and Las Vegas for the next 2 weeks. So yeah, yeah, like I said, I don't know. I just think NASCAR should have. I mean, as much as it didn't happen at a higher speed. I don't know. I still feel like they should have probably stuck with being consistent and sat them out for a race. So,
Yeah, I
again,
mean that's what pisses me off is it's just yet another example on a long list of examples of inconsistent application of things by NASCAR. You know, it doesn't matter what the track is. Right rear hooking somebody is right rear hooking somebody. It's going to come with its own set of dangers. You know, it just flat out shouldn't matter. And I think Kyle Busch even said that too, that it doesn't matter
right.
what track you're on. Right rearing somebody is right rearing them. You know, and yeah,
Right.
I don't agree with it. You know, it sets what it does is it creates the yet another fucking set of circumstances that they're just going to have to fix later on. Whereas they go, okay, well, it's okay as long as we're not at a speedway or a super speedway, you know. So I'm gonna, you know, Austin Dillon somebody at Martinsville next year or later this year, you know, and
Right.
or you know, I'm just gonna, you know, slam somebody out of the way or right rear them up into the wall if I think they, you know, rub me too many times. You know, if we're at, you know, fucking Gateway or someplace like that, and you're just like, why, you know, what are we doing? Like, just set the precedent. No is no, and
Right.
call it a day. It makes your
Yeah.
life easier. It makes the driver's lives easier.
Yeah, because then everybody knows, hey, if I decide, doesn't matter if I'm at Daytona or you're at Bowman Gray. If I right rear hook somebody, guess what? I'm gonna be sitting out a week.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. You know,
right.
it's fucking stupid.
I mean, it would essentially take the call out of NASCAR's hands because it would be a black and white rule, and then they could just be like, "Well, you knew the rule, sit out."
Yeah.
I mean, and then there wouldn't be this like we're doing now, talking about how inconsistent stuff is for NASCAR. It'd be like, "Well, he hooked him, he's out."
Yeah.
And then we move on to something else. You know, we move on to
Inconsistency in motorsports goes hand in hand with every series, apparently.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, exactly.
We've talked about that many times on this
Way too many
podcast.
times.
I mean, from
WEC.
not so much WEC.
No, between
Done
IMSA,
okay, but definitely
F1
Formula One, definitely IMSA, definitely NASCAR.
I mean, I'm just saying, WEC, an example of, in my opinion, them not doing enough was Buemi against Estra last year at Coda when fucking Buemi just lost his damn mind and drove Estra into the wall on the backstretch. Like, he should have been parked for a race for that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That's about the closest equivalent in sports cars if you can get to right rearing somebody in NASCAR, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they should totally sit BMW for the next race.
Oh my god!
Tell you what, we sit one Corvette and we sit one BMW.
One BMW. Yes.
No. We sit the BMWs and we keep the Corvettes.
No.
So, yeah. So again, next week they are at Phoenix, which I mean generally hasn't produced very good racing. Apparently, the tire that this new short track tire that they've been refining is going to be coming to Phoenix with even a little bit more refinement on the softness of it. So hopefully we get a decent amount of fall off with it, and we get varying strategies. I mean, this new road course tire worked really well. I mean, you've seen Kyle Busch defend his ass off, and because he had to play defense all the time, he chewed up his tires
Yeah.
and hurt him. And you had drivers like again Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, and stuff that were managing their tires towards the end of the race. Ended up, basically getting around him because they didn't chew up their equipment as much. Like I said, I feel like if Connor Zilic would have been in the race, I mean, he did an excellent job he did a really good job in the Xfinity race of managing his tires and coming up through the field fairly quickly. He did have some contact with some people and messed up his front end, but I don't know. He's again still have to remember he's still only 18 years old, so which is still crazy to think about that the man already has a freaking Daytona 24, a Sebring 12 hour, and a Le Mans podium at 18 years old.
Well,
and a full-time sponsorship with Red Bull for NASCAR. So,
well, he can drive a car.
Yeah.
In case you ever wanted to feel inadequate in your own life.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm over here like that's what Denny said on his podcast. He was like listing off all these accomplishments, like him winning like all these big races in the Cars Tour and all his thing, and he's like, I'm old enough to be this kid's dad. He's like, if that don't make me feel like a piece of crap, he's like, I don't know what does. He's like, this kid is super talented, extremely buttoned up. Like his interviews that he gives are really good. He's like, I don't know. He's like, when he actually gets experience under him, he's like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. He's like, I'm already feeling over the hill. So, but yeah, that's all I've got for motorsport news. Don't know if there's any other motorsport news you guys want to talk about.
Yeah, so today the National Motorsport Appeals Panel overturned Chase Briscoe's penalty. So for the alleged rear spoiler modification. So initially, Briscoe was handed a deduction of 100 driver and owner points, a fine of $100,000 to Joe Gibbs Racing, loss of 10 playoff points, and a 4-race suspension for Briscoe's crew chief, James Small. However, those penalties have been rescinded after the 3-person appeals panel agreed that the elongation of some of the holes on the spoiler base was caused by the process of attaching that specific spoiler base to the rear deck and not due to a modification that the team had made.
Okay.
And so basically that stems from, spec parts being provided and, tolerances being off and so on and so forth. So it doesn't happen very often. But
right.
In this particular case, they were able to get their penalty rescinded. So,
right. Let's see here. I'm trying to Let's scroll a little further up. Oh yeah, some stuff about the NASCAR and NBA accounts getting hacked. That happened too.
Yeah.
So there's some SRO news that has come out between yesterday and today. So there is Almost 20 cars across 8 GT3 manufacturers expected for the opening round of the GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS at Sonoma, which would mark considerable growth for SRO's flagship American GT series. It says, while an entry list for the March 28th through 30th event hasn't yet to be released, the series has previewed the contenders for the new look 2025 season. So far, 17 cars between 7 manufacturers have been confirmed, with 2 additional teams awaiting announcements. Aston Martin will have at least 2 of its Vantage GT3 Evos on the grid, with one being driven by Racer Edge Motorsports, who's making the switch from Acura with a new lineup of Jason Bell and Michael Cooper. Jason Bell has a lot of Aston experience in GT4s. Heart of Racing, meanwhile, will step up to the top GT3 series with a car for Darren Turner and Gray Newell. There's 4 BMW M4 GT3 Evos set to be on the grid in Sonoma, headlined by 2 random Vandal entries for Connor DeFilippe and Kenton Cook, as well as one for Bill Oberlin and Varun Chosky, the latter 2 who move over from ST Racing, who is no longer in the series, which is a big loss, but they're doing VP Challenge this season. Robbie Foley and Justin Rothberg will defend their Pro-Am class title and with Turner Motorsports, and Flying Lizard will return with their BMW for an expected driver pairing of Elias Sabo and Andy Lee. DXDT Racing will be on the grid with at least 1 Corvette Z06 GT3R for the new driver pairing of Blake McDonald and Matt Bell. 2 AF Corsa Ferrari 296s are expected, headlined by Jay Schreibman and Oz Negri Jr., alongside a yet to be announced driver crew for the number 16 entry in Pro Am.
Oh God, we have an Oz Negri Jr. Mold.
I know, we're old enough to remember seeing his dad drive.
Yeah, I don't know when his dad started driving.
Yeah, now I feel like Don with Joe and John Hunter Nemechek. Dollarhite Racing, who's a local team to me here in Austin, will give the Ford Mustang GT3 its series debut with an AIM class effort featuring Scott Dollarhite and a yet to be announced co-driver. There are 4 Mercedes AMG GT3 Evos set for Sonoma, headed up by regular Racing's Jeff Burton and Phil Ellis, as well as the return of the CrowdStrike by Riley entry for George Kurtz and Colin Braun.
Different Jeff Burton, not NASCAR Jeff Burton.
Correct. CRP Racing will make its series return with Jason Daskalos and Isaac Sherman at the wheel of their Mercedes, while JMF Motorsports expands to field a Mercedes AMG for the first time for Mackay Stevens and Mikhail Grenier. The newly rebranded Lab Motorsport by GT3 Racing Porsche GT3R of Jean-Frédéric Leberge and Kyle Marcelli will return to Pro-Am ranks, and GMG Racing will return with Kyle Washington and Tom Sargent doing battle in the Pro-Am class as well. They will be joined by RS1 in the Porsche stable with the lineup yet to be announced. 2 additional entries are expected, including the return of Schaust Provoletto Racing with Ross Choes and Aaron Provoletto, and an Archangel Motorsports entry, also with a yet to be announced brand. Should all entries materialize, it will mark a notable increase over the 13 cars that took part last year.
I would say so.
And then Jean-Maria Bruni will race a Ferrari for the first time in almost a decade as he joins the JMW Motorsports team in ELMS this year. He will share the number 66 Ferrari with American paired Jason Hart and Scott Noble, reuniting with the British team that he last drove for in 2009, when the category was simply known as the Le Mans Series.
Right.
Jesus Christ. I feel old.
It'll also mark the Italian's first season at the wheel of a Ferrari since he last raced for the Maranello Mark as a factory driver in 2016 prior to his switch to Ferrari. Or switch to Porsche, sorry. And then
oh boy.
Yeah, so for
that wasn't supposed to happen.
Whatever you say, homie, whatever you say. Everybody heard that.
So in addition to the 2 GT3 BMWs that Random Vandals is racing, they're adding a third effort to the stable with a M4 GT4. Or are they running 3 different GT4s? I forget what they're doing, but good to see Random Vandals expanding.
Mhm.
And then let me see if there's anything else.
So how many cars does Random Vandals have now? Is it like 3?
3, I believe now.
They have one-
potentially 5 if
Oh, jeez.
remember that right, but and then Amazon Web Services extended its partnership with the SRO Motorsports Group. So for anybody concerned that AWS might pull out, that's not going to happen. So they've committed to a multi-year extension of the global partnership. The renewed agreement will see AWS continue as the global technology partner provider to SRO, and as the global presenting sponsor for GT World Challenge, encompassing all the GT3 series in America, Asia, Australia, and Europe. It does not say how many years is multi-year, but
More than 2.
yes.
So are we gonna get like live races on Amazon then now, or
Nah. No,
Nah,
it'll
they'll
still be on
probably be
GT World.
Oh,
yeah, on YouTube and Twitch probably.
okay.
The main reason why companies go through Amazon is because they have a huge server market.
Mm-hmm.
So they can, obviously teams that stream data and all that other stuff use their Amazon servers to, for data streaming and other stuff like that. So much like people use CrowdStrike. So
And then in IMSA news, the field has been narrowed to 12 finalists for the 2026-2027 IMSA Diverse Driver Development or 3D Scholarship. The recipient to be named in the fall of this year will receive benefits worth up to $300,000 to compete in one of 4 IMSA sanctioned championships in 2026.
okay.
So the finalists chosen possess a strong desire to compete in IMSA, have outstanding previous race results and or proven on-track potential in junior categories, plus the ability to create a compelling strategy to compete in a full season in one of the 4 sanctioned series, either the Top WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, Michelin Pilot Challenge, VP Sports Car Challenge, or new for 2026, the Mustang Challenge. The 12 finalists for the 5th annual scholarship were selected from a pool of candidates who submitted their applications back in January. The list of finalists consists of 7 men and 5 women, 6 of whom were finalists in past years. They include Andre Castro out of New York, Sabra Cook out of Indiana, Julian DaCosta from Florida, Ernie Francis Jr., also from Florida, Nikki Hayes from California, Max Hewitt from Texas.
Ernie Francis Jr., I think he's also done some late model racing too.
Yes, he's also the son of racer Ernie Francis. Christina Lamb from Virginia, Sally Mott from Texas, Riley Pegram from Ohio, Ashland Speed from Texas, Joao Vergara from Florida, and Weston Workman from North Carolina.
Cool. Well, it'd be interesting to see those names in the future come up through the different series.
Yep. Ages range from 17 at the youngest to 36 at the oldest.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Mm-hmm.
I'm putting my application in next year, boys.
Yeah, for
my diversity is I'm obese.
for
You do not have to add success ballast to me.
No, but we might have to shoehorn you into the car.
Listen, I can fit in the GR Cup car. I'm pretty sure I can fit in a Miata.
Yeah, we tested it. The suspension went down about a foot.
Listen, that doesn't matter.
it
Just means it got a lower center of gravity.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm curious if outstanding
It's called
previous race
unsprung weight.
results, count for online sim racing results.
Yeah.
All I have to say is hopefully that legality plank is intact at the end.
So
They don't have legality planks for those
speaking of
games.
VP Challenge at Coda, there was some fueling issues for the Gebhardt Motorsports Duquine Nissan that was leading the race at the end of race one. It ended up running out of fuel while leading. The German squad, which had been running 1-2, saw the race come to a dramatic end on the second to last lap when both of their cars ran out of fuel, which handed the win to the number 54 MLT Motorsports Ligier. While the Gebhardt cars were classified in fifth and sixth, a post-race investigation revealed that there was no mechanical issue related to the cars themselves, but instead the refueling system. Fritz Gebhardt said, quote, "Unfortunately, we had a problem with our newly purchased refueling system in the USA. It wasn't calibrated. It hadn't calibrated the quantities correctly and pumped 6 liters less fuel into the car's tanks instead of the calculated amount. As a result,
Should've been
both
using
cars
gallons.
rolled out at the same time without fuel." So race 2 later that day did see a return to form for the team, with the team scoring their third victory of the season in 1-2 fashion.
Apparently, in race 1 and 2 at Daytona, some of the other LMP3 cars also ran out of fuel and had problems. So that was like the third race in a row where the LMP3 cars were having issues with making sure they were fully fueled, or at least properly fueled. Because fully fueled, they would have been able to easily go past the 45-minute mark.
Yeah.
And in the last article that I have that will also make us feel old, Memo Gidley is set to replace Johnny O'Connell full-time in GT America in the Ski Autosports Audi. The partnership brings together the 2024 championship winning team with the 2023 championship winning driver. Gidley took the 2023 crown while competing for TKO Motorsports, but he's now set to climb behind the wheel of Ski's Audi R8 LMS GT3 Evo 2, replacing Johnny O'Connell.
Okay. Let's see. Some I guess a little bit of legal news update on the 2311 and Front Row versus NASCAR stuff. There's a new 30-page court filing shows NASCAR has countersued 2311 and Front Row and named longtime Michael Jordan business partner Curtis Polk as a defendant, saying all three willfully violated the antitrust laws by orchestrating anti-competitive collective conduct. Their lawyer, Jeffrey Kessler, obviously released a counter statement saying that NASCAR is a meritless counterclaim is a meritless distraction and a desperate attempt to shift any attention away from its own unlawful monopolistic actions. NASCAR agreed to the joint negotiations that they now attack. When those joint negotiations failed, they used individual negotiations to impose their charter terms, which most teams declined. They had no choice but to accept. My client's lawsuit has always been about transforming NASCAR into a more competitive and fair sport for the benefit of the drivers, fans, sponsors, and teams. Because of their love for the sport, every major sport goes through a transition to competition when antitrust claims are asserted, and at that moment has come for NASCAR. Today's baseless filing changes nothing. We are confident in the strength of our case and look forward to presenting it at trial. So just some more updates on that stuff. Yeah. That is all the stuff I've got to talk about.
Yeah, it seems about it. Any rants?
I don't really, like I said, we just kind of went through a little bit of our rants as we went through, so nothing major to add at the end of this, I don't believe. So
yeah, I don't have anything.
So, alrighty. Well, on that note, we will end this episode. Like I said, we'll be back next week. We got NASCAR at Phoenix. Formula One does not start yet. That will be in 2 weeks.
Mhm.
Along with Sebring 12-hour already. In 2 weeks. Yeah. We'll talk to everybody next week.
Yep.
Later, bye.
See you then.
Bye.
Okay, dokie.